So that would be something where, from a development and communication perspective, instead of hard or easy, I think it's how much time does that take? And now, as to my estimate of how much time that would take, I don't think it would take that much time, assuming that there's no memory unknown issue that is plaguing that behind the scenes. It's just updating with the art assets and the recipe configuration and putting it into the game.
In theory, you
But
could just tie it to the coffer. So like, since you
right,
open coffers anyways.
exactly. So it's just that I think from a function of time, it's like how long does it take to do that with any of it? It would be the same thing. And then it becomes a function of priority. Do you want that over something else? But the good news is that when Yoshi P has communicated that around 7.3, the amount of rewards and things like that that they're able to put out at any given patch is going to be going up significantly. And I think that is going to help address things like Byaku's Extreme Pictomancer weapon, as well as things like that have I've heard from people complaining about 14, which is fun that it's just not me. The about how the what is the variant and criterion dungeons. I was
Yeah, the
like,
criteria. Yep.
how it's like, wait, why should I do this? And maybe that's something that's going to end up ultimately
Yeah.
helping solve for X there.
More rewards there. I mean, it's just like it's if the art team is doing that, they can't do something else at the same time, right?
Right.
And so, like, I fully agree. That's what I try to get at with the opportunity cost. It's like they always they have a limited amount of people working for them, and they can only put them on certain projects. And also, two projects that seem simple might be vastly different in complexity in reality, or different in resource allotment in reality. So that totally agree. I think, yeah, especially with the fact that they keep nodding towards something like a Binding Coils rework, I feel like they're running up on the old things that we've wanted to fundamentally fix for a long time, getting to those things. And my question then is, what is it? Because I don't think they're going to stop looking backwards towards like refining the game earlier on, because that just doesn't seem like their ethos seems to always have had that in mind. So like, yeah.
It's gonna be cool to see. Are you playing any other games outside of Final Fantasy 14 right now?
Intermittently, honestly, I've been on like almost a little bit of a game break just because I've had some physical health issues. But the biggest thing recently is I've played a lot of Elden Ring with Shadow of the Erd Tree. And then beyond that, I keep just playing random mini like horror games that I find, and I don't know why, but I can't stop doing it. Last one I played was Clap Clap, which basically premise is when you clap, the light turns on, and when you clap, it turns off. And horror ensues. One thing that's been interesting about that is, have you noticed the rise of the sort of PS1 era graphic fidelity games that have been coming around lately? So this has been a thing that's been up and coming that I've been watching for a long time. There's been things like Bloodborne Kart and what have you. But the same way that sprites kind of had that resurgence in like the early teens, late aughts, you're starting to see people have like either not just nostalgia, but taking the sort of PS1 high dithering, low color depth art style and creating kind of like a new modern version using it. And there's a lot of projects and animation stuff using it, and I find it very cool. As someone who like the PS1 era, I kind of missed it, like mainly like I was on like N64 and more that's the PS2 is more of like where I like really hardcore came in, but it's been really cool to see like the inventive ways people are using the archaic style to create like a something even more evocative.
Yeah. See, I definitely love that sprite based, obviously the 2D HD that we've been seeing. I'm really looking forward to playing Dragon Quest 3, the remake, and then 1 and 2. Like, I'm really excited about that, and I really hope I want them to be successful, because I want them to honestly like make sure that these classic games have new life. Like, I would love to see Secret of Mana brought into, like how would that look in the 2D HD world, while maintaining kind of that quality. Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI,
I was just like, give me 1 through 6. I would love,
And I think that would be great. And I think they did a really great job with the Pixel remasters for 1 through 6. And I just actually moved my PlayStation downstairs, so it's like, yep, I'm gonna keep playing. I'm gonna finish Final Fantasy VII remake. I want to get into Rebirth this year.
Me too. I need to get to it.
I heard it's just so massive, and it's just like that's exciting. That's exciting to see, and it's also in Unreal, which is really kind of cool to see that them shifting into that engine outside of things like Octopath and more. And I wonder if we'll see Unreal become a bigger part at Square Enix.
Well, the first thing that Nomura shifted over into was he shifted Kingdom Hearts 3 over into Unreal 4, I think. So
Mhm.
I wonder if it's also a Nomura push at all,
Huh?
in particular, because I
Yeah,
don't know if anybody else has, but I don't. I have no idea. I'm just curious if they had like a positive experience on Kingdom Hearts 3, and then, but
yeah.
then probably they would have started although maybe remake started in development while 3 was still going on. Who knows? Nomura's got his hand in like 6 pies all at once.
Yeah. So the other thing I've checked out outside of, like, we'll talk about No Rest for the Wicked, in the main show when Chris gets here, and Jay says he's also like stuck in traffic. So we're just hanging out doing an awesome fun
Yeah,
pre-show, just
I'll take it.
chatting and talking games. The is I played the Throne of Liberty open beta,
Nice.
and honestly, I came away way more positive than negative, to where before I've often made the case that the strongest thing that Throne of Liberty has going for it is its mystery. People haven't, it's a new MMO, it hasn't been solved. As soon as it's solved, people are going to like be bored with it. But from a
The
performance
perpetual issue.
perspective, from a controller perspective, like I was like, oh, I still have massive concerns about it being a free to play game, but
Mm.
then I connect that into like, well, if it's on GeForce Now, it's, like I like to play, especially free to play games for free for as long as I can, then determine if I want to actually reward the developers. And that's what made me kind of laugh about what Yoko said, is like talking about playing Honkai Star Rail as a non whale and absolutely hating it. And that's where
Oh,
it's
you
just like, how
can.
long can I survive in this free to play game? And if I get to like a ridiculous number, if I get to 100 hours in a free to play game and I haven't spent any money, I'm perfectly fine with spending money at that point. But I
Yeah.
challenge myself to that, which, just like there's some that I'm like, yeah, I'm setting this down now. This is not going to be good. But it's going to be interesting to see where Throne of Liberty falls within the mindset, because it is more heavily focused on PvP. It's also got more roots in a sandbox mindset, so player driven economy, and they're monetizing it a player driven economy that way, where the way you purchase items from the auction house is through the premium currency, which means you can get the premium currency by putting up items on the auction house to sell. So it's going to be interesting to see, because the last time we saw somebody attempt that was Diablo 3.
And that, well, it's interesting that I want to say that didn't go well, but it had its proponents, and it still
Mhm.
does. There's still some people who did very well during that time, who were like, "This is great."
Yeah.
Um,
I knew people who made a lot of money because
yeah,
they were just selling gold. They ran bot farms to farm up all kinds of drops, because it was engineered that in order to get the drop that you wanted, you had to go to the market. The game wasn't going to incentivize like, let's give him something cooler to equip. So it was always going into that, how do we monetize, and which made people feel immediately bad. I think it
that's the
could have
problem.
worked if that you were also getting drops that were really cool, and then you wanted to get something maybe a little bit better, then that's your call. But as opposed to
Yeah.
like, yeah, I haven't seen a weapon that I can use a drop at all. Like, all right, what's going on with this?
I mean, honestly, to me, that's always been the issue. And as someone who's been broke a lot of my life, like, and not being able to like, I just to be frank,
Dude, when we like, thankfully we found Dave Ramsey and paid off all our debt. But
yeah.
that was like, you never feel more broke than when it's like you owe people money and you don't have any, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean, it was not that long ago that for the first time I'm like, my bank account says more than 3 digits. This is amazing.
all right,
Um,
winning hashtag.
right. But to me, so like I've always had this issue of like engaging with any game that's free to play that costs. Like I'm very highly attuned of like the level to which just I can't engage with it and where that
Yeah,
barrier is. And to me, I actually think it's sad because a lot of the free to play behaviors incentivize scummy design, but like there are if you make a game that is relatively rewarding, like, and that gives you a relatively fair amount of currency with relative consistency,
mm,
you actually like it's not that hard to make a free to play game that has whales that actually is still approachable to a normal free to play player. And like a good example of that to me is like Arknights
mm-hmm.
did a really good job with its design, where like Arknights, and I know Genshin probably gets a lot of hate, and I don't know if it's gotten worse lately, but like early on Genshin was pretty good in that, yes, money made it so that I could get more people, and yes, I could like get the E6 or whatever ability thing, but you really didn't there was no, I could just play that game as a free-to-play player,
Yeah.
and I never felt like I ran up against issues involving where like I needed to spend money to progress, or I needed to spend money to feel like I was having a good time. And so it's sad to me because I think you're right in that, like, I think there are versions of these mechanics that are basically just full, that when we get them in the real world end up being fully toxic, that could be fun, but they have to be designed in a way that it's fundamentally fun and then also has this thing, rather than you need to do this thing for it to be fundamentally fun.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as Chris jumps in here, Yokai has one final question. What is your speculation or ideas of the Beastmaster?
It's Pokemon, right? Like, there's just no way it's not, like, to me, like, I mean, because it can't just be collecting monsters that each have a single ability or whatever, and then it's just Blue Mage 2.0.